Hey guys, we got another Snap-on Tuesday. Today I want to talk about one thing in particular. This is my most used Snap-on tool right here. Believe it or not, I use this thing more than like anything else. It just really comes in handy, and it's worth spending the extra money for a nice one. The other stuff I wanted to talk about is stuck bolts. I'm in a shop where I don't have like an oxyacetylene torch, so I got to use what I have to get any type of nuts or bolts that are seized or stuck unstuck and moving again. And I have just a small assortment of stuff that can really help, especially if something's seized, stuck, if you got to cut something. So first of all, we're going to talk about this little reducer. It's 1/2 inch to 3/8. Where I use this a lot is if I am zipping something apart, maybe a top end, maybe do an intake manifold or something like that. And I want to use like my swivel sockets, but I'm using like my little stubby 1/2 inch gun, or even if it's a tighter bolt, I use the big 1/2 inch gun. And sometimes it's just way quicker to have a reducer and then use your 3/8 stuff. I think what I use it most for is my little stubby Milwaukee 1/2 inch gun. I use a ton. I use it so often because it's real small and it's real torquey, and it's a 1/2 inch gun. I like having that little bit of extra torque when I use the 1/2 inch sockets. But if I'm gonna fly through a tune-up or something and I got that gun, I'm gonna pop this reducer on, and then I could use all my 3/8 gear on it. And man, I've broke so many of these over the years using cheap ones, Harbor Freight ones, ones you get from Home Depot, whatever. And I finally bit the bullet a couple years ago, and I bought this nice Snap-on one. I think it was $45, and it was so worth it for me. I've used it so many times, and it just doesn't break. And if it does, I know I could get a new one next week when the Snap-on truck comes again. So shout out to the little reducer. Yeah, check this out. If you're using cheap ones and they're breaking, my advice is spend a couple bucks, get the Snap-on reducer. Next thing I want to talk about is how I deal with stuck bolts, corroded bolts, something that needs to be cut. The first tool that I use, believe it or not, is my trusty red hammer. I've had this hammer for maybe 17 or 18 years. The brand is Armstrong, and I've just used the piss out of it, and you could see that it's coming apart, but it's a solid metal core. This thing's never gonna break. And if you got a stuck bolt, especially a lug nut, and you're just rapping on it with the impact gun and it ain't coming loose, there's a 99% chance you pop a socket on there. Make sure your strike is true and really whale that thing hard. Hit it a good couple times, give it a good couple pops, and then go at it again with the impact gun, and that thing 99% of the time is going to pop off like it wasn't tight at all. So many seized up bolts, especially for like a BMW or a Volvo, Volkswagen, where it's the lug bolt. If they get stuck, sometimes it could be a nightmare trying to get them out. But I have yet to have one recently that I couldn't get to come out nice and easy after a good couple hard pops. You put a 17 millimeter on there, whack it real hard with the hammer a couple times, and that thing's gonna come loose. And you could do that with any bolt. If you got something on the top end, if you got a brake caliper bolt, never underestimate the power of just shocking it a couple times with a hammer. A lot of times it's not the torque that has that thing tight like that. A lot of times what has that thing tight like that is that 360 degrees of corrosion wrapped from the bottom of the threads all the way to the top, having that thing just locked in. And a good couple pops with a hammer break up that corrosion a little bit, and a lot of times it comes free. This will save you on Hyundai caliper bolts, the ones that break off inside of the steering knuckle. I've had a lot of those where it feels like it's gonna break. Pop it a couple times with a hammer and a socket on there, and then she'll come right out. Next tool of choice, I don't have an oxyacetylene torch, but I keep this MAP gas. There's been nothing so far where this MAP gas couldn't loosen it. And it's just handy. It's a lot easier to wield than an oxyacetylene torch. There's a lot less setup. You don't gotta wheel a cart over, and this thing gets freaking hot. And that MAP gas burns way hotter than propane. The MAP in this yellow cylinder, you could get it at Home Depot, works like wonders. I love having this little torch. There's not a lot of things that require heat that I've come across that this MAP gas wouldn't, free up. Steering rack mount, like a steering rack mount bolts I had seized the other day. Nothing would loosen them, and hit it with a torch for maybe 30 seconds and they came right out. Corroded bolts that you got to cut. A lot of people go to the cutoff wheel first. This is my Milwaukee M12 cutoff wheel, and this thing's a little beast. It runs through the battery real quick, but this thing will cut through, anything. You got time, cut through anything with this. If you got a little bolt, sway bar end link, something like that you got to cut off, a lot of people will go for one of these first, just a cutoff wheel, and this electric one's awesome, battery operated. Almost lost her. I've used this thing a ton too. This is my little hacksaw, my little sawzall, reciprocating saw, and this thing's real sweet. This is a combo metal and wood blade. Actually, I think this one's just a metal blade, and sometimes this will cut through a sway bar link bolt or something else that you have that's just too rusted and it's got to come off. Sometimes this will do the job a lot quicker than the cutoff wheel, or sometimes you can't fit the cutoff wheel in there and you could slide this in and just be patient with it, give it a little bit of penetrating oil, and this will eventually cut through anything also. A lot of times when you're working on cars, you will come up against obstacles. There are obstacles to doing automotive repairs, and one of those obstacles is going to be a stuck bolt, a seized bolt that won't come out. And if you have all the proper tools and got what you need to get out those stuck bolts quick, that's money that you're making. Time is money in this industry, and if you got what you need to get out a stuck bolt, that'll save you some money, save you some time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I will check you out next week. Peace.